From the Sunshine State, this is Tampa Bay 10 Talk.
It's time for FLALAW, brought to you by the personal injury attorneys of Perenich, Caulfield, Avril Noyes. This hour will be informative, along with taking your questions and comments. Now, here are your hosts for today's show.
Good evening. It is Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and that means you are listening to FLALAW on the radio. I'm attorney Matthew Noyes with the personal injury law firm of Perenich, Caulfield, Avril Noyes, one of the first personal injury law firms here in Tampa Bay and proud presenters of the FLALAW on the radio. Each week, we are able to discuss issues regarding personal injury law, workers' compensation, Social Security, disability. But we also bring in special guests to share their knowledge in areas that impact all our listeners. And today is just one of those days. We have a truly special show with, backed by popular demand, guest Steven Hirschfield, the creator and operator of IONTB, or IONTB, the social media and website platform that has changed how people get news on events happening in our community. Thanks to Steven, people don't have to wait hours to learn about why the police were stopped in their neighborhood, or why that helicopter's flying around, or why traffic was backed up. They can have that information instantly. So, Steven, thank you for being my guest again on FLALAW on the radio. Before we get started about tonight's topics, why don't you give our listeners, the regular listeners, a little refresher, and the new listeners a little information about you and the history and the growth of ION Tampa Bay.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me back. This is like a three-peat now.
That is. I like
good.
it.
By popular demand. I like that.
That's right. It is
That's
popular.
Awesome. So, yeah, I started IONTB, ION Tampa Bay, I don't know, 13 years ago or so.
Wow. 13 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Makes me feel old. So put that together. I have a long history of work with public safety entities, family history of people that are involved in fire rescue, including now I have some family members here in Pinellas County as part of the one of the municipalities' fire rescue. A long history of doing video work, photo work, and a lot of emergency communications, work with emergency management all through college, and currently here with the Pinellas County. So I have a lot of experience in all of that, and I kind of merged all of them together and started IONTB 13 plus years ago, really to highlight what the men and women, public safety, fire department, law enforcement do on a daily basis, just to educate the consumers, the residents, to what they do. They don't just sit in the firehouse all day and not do anything. They're always out there training. They always know what to do, and they need to do extrications. Law enforcement, obviously lots of training with the issues that are going on in this evolving complex society that we have.
Right.
So just kind of highlighted that, and it just kept growing and growing, and the public kept getting involved. And I think we're 210,000, I think, likes on Facebook.
Wow.
So when something's posted, there's a lot of, besides the crazy comments that I try to moderate the best I can, there's a lot of, and it's much appreciated. They, send in pictures, give information of what happened. There's a lot of unknown things there early on. And I know that your firm probably, and a lot of the personal injury attorneys are interested in that as well.
Right. It's so important to have that information. You have access to information that sometimes people never get to see.
Right.
And it's through you, but it's also through those that help you with the information that you're able to post.
Right. And that's priceless. It's like, oh, well, when are you going to start charging? I'm not going to charge because I exist because of my followers, right?
Yeah.
To help what's going on and to even know things are going on. So it's all day long that I'm getting messages saying, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? Those are the things that allow me to do what I do.
Yeah. And for anyone who's not familiar with ION Tampa Bay, just before I got here today, I just did a quick look to see what's on the website first. And the website, you talked about the pedestrian crash, Courtney Campbell closing for yesterday and today.
Yep.
So important for people to know.
And then I get contacted by that's FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation. They communicate with me as well. they reached out recently to work on some kind of partnership and
Right.
sharing some information. So
Because we see when the Skyway closes, you're one of the first ones to post that as well.
right. Well, I have that automated actually.
Yeah,
that if
well,
it
that's
closed
good.
right now, it sends
Don't
that
share
warning
your
out.
secrets. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not always there at the computer, so.
But there was a serious crash in Gulfport. A man climbing into a Pinellas Park city vehicle in the back of the truck.
Right, and that's is it newsworthy? I mean, I don't know if you saw, but there's a long video. It's like a 2.5-minute video that someone I
Yeah.
know took it from the K9 helicopter. I mean, the guy has obviously emotional issues.
And it's helpful for those who will be put in those, for the first responders that are put in that information to see what they did and what they didn't do correctly. I think that's why your first video was a fire in Dunedin.
Right.
And that was
Candle
really to help
factory.
a candle factory. And that was really to help the firefighters. And I think, if I remember correctly from one of our last episodes, the firefighters were really helpful in using that video to help train situations
Yeah,
like
they
that.
do some of that. I got a request yesterday, the big fire we had in Largo, people wanted the audio of, for educational, for training
Right.
purposes. So I'm able to just apply that. The Dunedin one was more, photos or videos of them working, right? And that now I have a lot of the spouses, family members, parents, they're following to see what their children or brothers or sisters are doing out there.
Right.
And so there's a lot of that going on. So I also got to be sensitive to, law enforcement's involved in a crash,
Sure.
right? I don't want to say, hey, Largo PD officer involved in a crash. I mean, I don't want a spouse or a loved one to find out and start panicking. And that's the same with schools. There was a helicopter landing at a school the other day. Had nothing to do with the school. But that's one of the most viral, crazy responses I get. I don't want parents rushing to the school, creating a backup, especially if something's going on, to say, oh my God, is my kid okay? So I would put out there, hey, helicopter's landing here, but it's not related in any way to the school. It's a medical issue away from the school. So those are the kind of important things that we put out there.
And you do it responsibly. And that's what I like about ION Tampa Bay, is that you do it responsibly, and you take into consideration those that are involved. And as you just said, those that aren't really involved, but think that they may be involved. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I did just touch on what was on the website, but on Facebook, it's current. It seems to be all the time, at least once an hour, something's going up. The last one I saw when I got here was that flights were delayed due to weather at Tampa International. Very helpful to know. I know you typed that in yourself. And
Close. I had an alert from my computer, and then I manually put it. That's one of the things I'm working on. So constantly working on the site. I am now hard working on a app finally, which will be kind of cool. They could have notifications built in, so I'm not depending on Facebook that may show it to you 4 days later to have notification kind of systems come through. So I'm working on an app. I've developed a 911 dashboard. So 911.iontb.com.
Oh, tell me about that.
That's
breaking news right here.
It was like 1 week of work. I just basically made a dashboard built off the county's 911 site. A lot more information, what units are on scene, when they got on scene, times, how many units. So a lot of times people are probably seeing now on my site where I'll just put a image of what the call is, the address, and the units involved.
Okay.
So I could just generate that right from my site. And so people could actually set up alerts that if there's a structure fire, they get alerted.
Is that live now?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So it's still dependent, obviously, the county and putting theirs up. So as long as they don't have an outage, it's fine. It has a history too. So you could look and say, hey, on so-and-so a date, can you tell me there's a crash on Ulmerton Road?
How can our listeners get onto that?
911.iontb.com.
I'm writing it down myself.
Yeah, tb.com. So it has a history on it. It's actually, the fire departments could actually look at how many calls their department ran, how many calls Engine 30 ran, for instance, on a certain day, and who they ran it with. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of work with the database and just trying to put it all together. So
that's wonderful.
Going on.
That's wonderful. Well, if you're just tuning in now, you are listening to FLALAW on the radio. My name is Matthew Noyes, one of the partners at the law firm of Perenich, Caulfield, Avril Noyes. And my special guest is Steven Hirschfield, the creator and operator of so many things, including Eye on Tampa Bay, or IONTB. I always call it Eye on Tampa Bay, so I have to spell it in my head. And now, as we know, 911.iontampabay.com too. So that's pretty cool. This is a live call-in show. If you do have questions for me or Steven, there's 3 ways to get in touch with us. You can call us at 727-441-3000, or you can jump on the law firm's Facebook page at Perenich, Caulfield, Avril, and Noyes Injury Lawyers. Perenich is spelled Perenich. Or you can jump on our YouTube channel as well, and you can see us, and you can type in a comment there, and we'd be happy to address any questions or comments that you have on Facebook or on YouTube. But best way to do it is just give us a call at 727-441-3000. It's hard to believe, Steven, that in just a few weeks, it's hurricane season.
June 1st, baby.
June 1st.
Right,
so I
around
thought
the
it'd be
corner.
best for us to talk, especially with your emergency management training and volunteerism and work and all that. You put years into that. I thought it'd be great to start with that, the hurricane and severe weather safety that we really need to talk about. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you have done in hurricanes past in terms of helping out the government, so to speak, and the entities that try to educate people, and also provide us with some hurricane preparation tips that you think people should know about?
Well, the key word's preparation, right? You got to prepare now. You don't prepare when you know it's coming in 24 hours.
That's
so it's
true.
all about preparation.
And that's why I think it's good to do it in June. I mean, start the hurricane season in June.
Yes.
Because, knock on wood, we're not going to have any hurricanes in June or July, but we have. But it's a good time to start preparing.
Right. The Gulf tends to heat up quite a bit later on in the hurricane season, but anything can happen.
Right.
I know you're all seeing online the Super El Nino, right? I don't know if you've seen over and over and over again. They're really hyping this 2 to 3 centigrade or 5 degrees elevation in the temperatures there in the Pacific. And they talk about El Nino years and La Nina years, and this is shaping up to be more of a El Nino year. There's no exact usage of a super El Nino by the National Weather Service or the Climate Prediction Center. That's kind of something that people are just creating to post online.
But in layman's terms, if it's El Nino, what does that mean to you and me and our listeners?
So El Nino is you have the equatorial waters in the Pacific Ocean, and the westerly winds pushing toward Asia, and it causes a moisture, warm air across, for how it impacts us, across Florida. The jet stream carries that across Florida. It also continues out into the Atlantic.
Okay.
So what that would mean if it comes up right now, they give predictions. They're actually updating it, I think, on the 14th. How strong they think it's going to be, and they classify it strong, extra strong, or very strong, I think is the terminology. But what that would mean for us is unstable weather, possibly more, severe weather. It also means lots of rain. Okay, we are obviously
right now.
We're obviously in a drought. It seems like we're either flooding or we're in a drought, right?
Yeah, sounds like
so
California.
it could bring a lot more rain, and that would be maybe into July, even into through the rest of the year. So it would be a very wet time for us here in Florida. But it also, when it moves out into the Atlantic, it causes a lot of that movement and the shear that would shear the hurricane. So typically during the stronger El Nino seasons, those hurricanes take that easterly, that bend out back into the water. So when you look at those El Nino years, very few in the Gulf. But again, it only takes one, right? So even if the predictor tells you, hey, the prediction's very low, you don't want to be the one major that year. So it doesn't mean you let your guard down.
No, you can't.
But it is shaping up into a hopefully a less amount of hurricanes, less major hurricanes that would impact the U.S.
But still a lot of severe weather, though.
It could be more severe weather. So
what steps should people take now in preparation for that type of weather?
Well, I mean, you want to have an emergency kit ready to go, and that would include your documents, right? Your legal documents, your paperwork, your insurance policies. A lot of them are digital now.
Right.
So, if you leave them in the house, they're going to get wet, destroyed. Know who your insurance carriers are. Make a list. Take pictures on your phone. Store them on the cloud, whether it be Google Drive, iCloud, whatever you got to do. You want to have food and water for not just you, but your pets, right? Think about your pets. Yeah. And that's a big thing. You have people that they didn't make arrangements for their pets. And I'm not leaving my house because I can't leave my dog. I can't leave my cat. And now's the time to start thinking about what you're going to do, where you're going to go, if you have pets, if you have special needs, right? If you're on an oxygen concentrator and you need electricity, you need to register now in a special needs shelter. You need to call the county or your municipality and get you in a database. And that's part of what I do with the city of Seminole is the special needs. So we call these people on a database throughout the year. We keep things up to date. And we call these people a couple days ahead and say, hey, do you need us to pick you up? Do you need us transportation to this special needs shelter? And we have a list of what they need. Is it ambulation? Can they get in a bus? Do they need a wheelchair lift? And we arrange all that either through the PSTA or the school buses that the emergency management here in the county provides.
And anybody can get on that list depending on where they live. They can call the county or they can call the city.
Right. You call your municipality and then it gets fed into a database for the county. So if you're not sure, just call Pinellas County.
Okay.
Disaster.pinellas.gov. Disaster.pinellas.gov will give you everything you need that we're talking about that could help you register. They have people that could take care of that. But now's the time to do it.
Yes.
And it doesn't commit you anything. We call people, say, oh, my daughter's going to pick me up. We're going to his or her house.
We talked about food, and you said food and drink for you and your family and your pets.
Right.
I've often heard a debate about how many days worth of food you really
need. The typical is always 72 hours because the government's going to be here within 72 hours to take care of you. Okay. Go for a week, right?
Yeah.
So, 1 gallon per person per day for 7 days is my recommendation.
Okay.
I know what I do is I clean one of my huge garbage cans outside. I have one that's pretty clean. I put construction bags in there and I fill it up and I leave it in the shower. Not necessarily to drink, but to flush your toilet.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. You've got to have water in that tank to flush your toilet. So as long as there's power to the lift stations, you gotta be able to flush your toilet.
Right.
So I store a lot of water that way. Worst case scenario, you could add chlorine, bleach. If you have bleach in the house, you could add bleach. There's ways, how many drops or how much per gallon that you can make it a potable water that you could drink. I mean, there's all kinds of things I could go on for hours.
Yeah.
Working with this.
A good tip I heard about that too was also use your pool water. If you have a pool,
you can use your pool water before it gets full of the beach.
That's
right?
true.
That's a lot of what happened last time. And,
yes.
And the big thing is electronic vehicles, right? Vehicle fires. I mean, we have a problem with lithium batteries, and obviously we've had a lot of vehicles and Teslas and they send a warning out, and I got one. They send that warning out. Oh my God, I said a Tesla. No,
you did admit that.
I did, because every time I post about Tesla and a car on fire, I'm a Tesla hater. Well, no, I posted because the fires might be burning for an hour versus 10 minutes and it's on the interstate. I don't respond and say, yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
But anyways.
It's important to know too for other Tesla owners.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they text out. So I said they text out in their app days before. You should move your vehicle to a higher spot. So people say, I didn't know. Dude, you got the notification. I get them. If you obviously have it, you're online, you have a Tesla. And I don't know how many people I know that they just left their cars in the garage. They live in Treasure Island. Both their cars. At least move one of them.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But, obviously you want to get gasoline, right? Fill your cars up, as expensive as it is right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be looking for a gas station. Obviously, if you have generators and stuff like that, if you do store gas, you want to store it in a safe location.
How long can you store that gas?
Not great. It's not great. So since they moved to the ethanol fuels.
Right.
You can store a lot longer with the non-ethanols. But the ethanol, the ones that have ethanol in it, which is your typical one that you use when you fill up, unleaded fuel, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, depending on what you're using it in. So
Right.
there are fuel stabilizers you can put in there that would help. And any owners of any boats know if you
Yeah.
don't use your boat very often,
That's
a lot
right.
of them do the ethanol free, or it just gives you a reason to burn some fuel.
Yeah.
But
Well, I know
there are
Wawa's has the ethanol free.
Who's that?
Wawa's.
They do.
Yes, and I only know that because that's what I have to do for my generator.
There you go. For the
So-
generator, I switched over to propane. I'm done with gasoline. I'm
you're
done
smart
with
man.
carburetors. I got big old propane tanks, and I got a new generator.
You're a
and
smart
it's,
man.
it's good to go.
I'll get there one day.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the portable ones still, but it runs
Yeah.
off propane. I bought 3 tanks. But of note, if you want more information on hurricanes, there are 2 expos coming up. There's probably a lot coming up, but the one that's coming up next, kind of special to me, is I'll be there
Okay.
along with Brian McClure from Bay News 9, and he has
Alright.
been pretty much spot on. He'll be speaking at 6:00 on May 20th at Seminole City Park. Now, Seminole City Park is at 64 Ridge Road. The event will be from 5 to 7 p.m. Free hot dog and popcorn also.
Hey, look at that.
So, the sheriff's office will be there. Pinellas County will be there. And obviously it's hosted there by the city of Seminole.
And I think it's so important to go to those expos now before stress comes and you see a storm coming on, even if it's a week away.
Right.
Do it now. while you can do the
And
planning.
Brian, I mean, he's pretty spot on. He has a way of communicating very well in a way that people understand, not a complicated way. And the reviews have been great with Brian at that expo. So again, May 20th, there is one on May 30th that's put on by it's in the city of Clearwater. It's going to be part of Pinellas County Emergency Management and the city of Clearwater. That's going to be May 30th. And that's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay.
And that'll be at the North Greenwood Recreation Center at 9000 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue.
That's not too far from our studios right now.
It's right up the road.
That's
so I'm
right.
sure there's others. Those are the 2 that I'm familiar with.
Are you going to be at the Clearwater one too?
No.
Oh, come on. I think we can make a few phone calls, get you there.
I'm sure you could. But no, I'll be at the Seminole Hurricane Expo. And we usually have a pretty good turnout. We used to have a Hurricane Expo and then it kind of tapered off. We had the problem where we didn't have storms for a long time. We had complacency.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, it's been 6 years since we got hit. Well, now we know what it's like to get hit.
Yeah.
Right. And the big thing with hurricanes is, remember, it's not the wind that kills people. It's the storm surge. So make sure you know your zone. Right.
That leads me perfectly.
So when you go to disaster.pinellas.gov, or you go to your KYZ.pinellas.gov, you should know it. And it's on your utility bill also.
Okay,
For Pinellas County Water, it tells you your evacuation level. There's shelters. You may have a shelter next to your house, but it may not be open. So not all shelters open. Shelters open depending on the forecast, wind's direction. They make those announcements of when these shelters will be open. Some are for pets, some are special needs, some are general. And remember, if you go to a shelter, it's not a cruise.
Yeah.
It's a lifeboat, right? You don't have a lot of room. It ain't great. Your best bet is they used to push evacuate, right? Evacuate. And the worst thing I told people, the worst thing you do is follow those blue signs as evacuation area, locate. Because that's backed up, right? My parents made the mistake. They didn't listen. I went down to my family in South Florida. They went up to Atlanta. It was like 14 hours. They were stuck.
Right.
Your best bet is to evacuate just a higher level, right? Find a friend, find a family. Again, it's the storm surge that's deadly. Most homes, if it's a stable, if it's a well-constructed home, obviously not a mobile home, go to those locations, find a friend, make a friend, and stay in those locations. If you go there, bring your kit with you, right? Don't drink their water.
Yeah, I was going to say, bring your gallon a day.
So there was finally a movement years ago to say, evacuate miles, not hundreds of miles.
Okay. That makes sense, actually, because then you can also not have to, you see all the the news reports of all that traffic trying to come back into Pinellas
and
County.
sometimes there's roadblocks that say,
Right.
hey, we're not ready to do that, and things
Right.
get hot, heated. And I think last year or 2 years ago, the governor said, hey, if somebody's wants to go back to their home, let them go back to their home. So you don't have to deal with those issues. And we have if we had a really, really severe storm with huge storm surge, we'll have an island, Seminole basically is one, and then up in the Palm Harbor area, those are like the two high zones.
Yeah.
God forbid we ever have that issue.
I have a friend that I've never really appreciated this until he told me. He lives off of Highland Avenue in Clearwater.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, we were talking about hurricane preparation. He goes, well, I live off of Highland. I said, so? He says,
Highland.
It's highland. And we are one of the highest areas in Clearwater.
There you go.
We looked, I made him prove it to me. And he did. He showed it to me, and he's
a non-evacuation zone.
Like,
all right, give out his address. We're all going to go to his house.
That's what I said. I said, well, that's pretty cool. And then, like you were saying, just a little down the road, it's not. I mean, it's an evacuation area. So, I mean, it could be, your street could be at a 5, and the other, and 2 streets down can be a 1.
I was my backyard's an A.
Or
like right on the other side of my fence. I'm a B, and then 1 street up's a D.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
on the Lake Seminole outflow canal.
Yeah.
So it's that little difference.
So it's so important. How do they? I know they can look under utility bill, but how else can they get on? You
can just search Pinellas County Know Your Zone.
Okay.
I think it's kyz.pinellas.gov. But again, if you go to disaster.pinellas.gov, that should be your main go-to. It'll have an area for Know Your Zone. So, and that could change. It may be different than it was last year or the year before.
And that's what I was reading. I see that they can change those based on what surge they had from a prior storm.
Correct.
And it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It could be just a prior storm.
And then there's flood zones, which is a whole nother topic I don't want to go into. That's more for insurance and all that good stuff. But the big thing is, get your water now, right? How many have gone, I need to get water, the storm's coming.
Yeah.
Go get a few cases of water now. I was the other day, I just picked up a bunch. It's like just have it now. You'll use them throughout the year. Right. They're good for many, many months.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to see all these people last minute. The other thing is, as me as a pharmacist, right? Make sure you have your prescriptions.
Good point.
When a storm's expected, right? You have a warning. A warning different than a watch. You have a warning. The governor will do a declaration declaring an emergency, and that would allow it requires the insurers to allow a 30-day supply of life-sustaining medication. So make sure you do that. A lot of people are on all these, the Ozempics, the Wegovy's, all of these new things for weight loss. A lot of those have to be refrigerated. Some of them are good out of the fridge for 30 or 42 days, but that doesn't mean it can be in a hot car. So sometimes you could just store those, but make sure they're kept out of the sun. So there's a lot of those biologics now, the Embros, the Humiras, make sure you have some small lunchbox or something you could store those items in.
Good pointer. One thing that we see as personal injury attorneys, especially during the hurricane season or even just the summer storms, we have, for some reason, drivers in Pinellas County and Tampa Bay forget how to drive when it's raining. They have a tendency to speed. They have a tendency to switch lanes, without any notice whatsoever. And one thing that drives me really crazy is that they forget what the law says when the traffic light is out because it's either malfunctioned or the power is out. The law says you must treat that as a 4-way stop. And if you don't, and you cause a crash, you're negligent. And during the storm 2 years ago, I had 2 cases that was the case. They did not stop for an inoperable light. They said, well, my light was flashing yellow. That doesn't matter. It was an inoperable. Right. And they caused a pretty bad crash only because they failed to follow the law.
Right. So we know the law is right. Tree is a 4-way stop. But I laugh every time I hear that. I mean, there's no other better way to do it, right? I know that the county has invested a lot of money to buy inverters. You used to see, the police vehicles there,
Right.
with their hoods open, and powering. And so they bought a lot of generators and stuff at the major intersections to try to prevent that, obviously, the
Right.
problem. But if you're on a major road and you got 3 lanes north and south and 3 lanes east and west, well, who stopped first, right? So it gets, I get it, but
it does get confusing.
But bad weather doesn't remove responsibility from drivers. It kind of increases it, right? Because if you're driving, you have to drive safe for the weather and for the environment,
Sure.
for what you're in. And if you don't, it's reckless driving, basically.
Sure.
Even something that if it wasn't rainy, it wouldn't be, but you've got to drive for the conditions that you're in. And
100%.
people, you have people going into high water,
All right.
which is obviously a problem. So even during these rains, definitely during storms, you start rescuing people out of vehicles with boats. I mean, it's just crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, turn around, don't drown. You've heard that a million times. You have reduced visibility during heavy rain. So you want to extend that distance from the car in front of you. Hydroplaning every time, especially if it hasn't rained in a long time, right? So we're in this drought situation.
Right.
So this little bit of rain that we're going to get here shortly, there's going to be all those oils are in the road because it hasn't rained in a long time. So when you have a extended period of time of dry and then you get that little bit of rain,
all that oil.
yeah, you'll see it on
up.
IONTB.
Yeah.
When I get out of here, there'll be someone who slammed into a pole or into a
Sure.
barrier here in the interstate. So
Right.
it's all very predictable, but you've got to think smart. And
Yeah.
not race to get to the next red light.
Right. And if you don't have to be on the road during a rainstorm, don't.
Right.
As
much as I'd love to be, during hurricanes, I'm in the emergency operations center helping out. I'm like, God, I should be out there doing a live video. But I'm doing the right thing. I'm keeping myself safe, right?
Yes,
I don't need it.
No, it's great.
Just to ask, obviously it's what you do. What's your feel on dash cams? And how has that impacted some of the cases you
I
dealt
love
with?
dash cams. If I had
it depends though, right?
I know. I said I should give a dash cam to every one of my clients because those clients that have the dash cam and show me, well, the guy says that that I was moving. The dash cam shows that there was clearly stopped, and it shows the guy just plowed right into the back of them. I had one dash cam that showed the driver was on. You could see him on the phone right before he. It was a moving truck. Slammed into our client. Actually, it slammed into the car behind our client, and with such force that it really smashed into our client. So, the white of the Oreo cookie is what I call it. The middle vehicle really got smashed front and back. But you could see from that dash cam. So I think it should be a required apparatus in every vehicle.
Isn't it amazing the new cars and even some of the older cars today have cameras on the sides, in the back, and everywhere around the vehicle except for in the front when you're driving.
I know. I don't get it. That's what it's like, how can I get it? Now, I don't have a dash cam in mine only because I don't like the wire sticking out. I'm kind of anal like that.
Oh, we could fix that.
The side ones are while you drive because it alerts you if somebody's next to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but they won't put one in the front.
Yeah, and we had that example. Another example wasn't my case, but it was somebody I know. There was an argument about whether or not their client went into the lane or whether or not another person went in.
Mm-hmm.
The other person went into the lane, and there was a dash cam behind our person behind the client that showed that the at-fault driver was the one who turned into their lanes.
Right.
But without that dash cam, it's 50-50. It's a he said, she said thing.
No fault state. So you guys figure it out.
And the law recently changed, said that if you can't prove 50% negligence, then you get no damages whatsoever. And so that's why I think the video footage is so important.
Because there's many times there'll be a crash or a report on someone says, oh, look, I got the dash cam video. So
right.
Just so it may not be the party involved. It may be somebody else that captures.
I actually helped out the police department. I was coming up on a crash scene that I was probably a block before it happened. It was on my dash cam.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when I waited there for the police officer to come over to me, and she says, what did you see? Because they're saying this happened. I'm like, look at my dash cam. It did not happen like that.
Yeah.
The light was red. He went through it and smashed into the other guy.
So I get a lot of those, and I'll be like, I could look to see what agency worked up. Hey, call FHP at this number, call Clearwater PD at the sheriff's office. So I do get a lot of those as well.
Yeah.
And,
the dash cams are so helpful. Exactly what you said. Who had the red light? Who had the green light? And
yep.
And
dash cam shows it all the time.
My dash cam was, I think, under $100, and it looks just like a rear view mirror.
Yeah.
As soon as I open the door, it starts. And the wire, I use the USB, so it's USB powered. So mine's right there, so it plugs right in.
Oh.
You don't see any wires hanging down.
Okay.
As soon as when it's parked, if somebody walks in front, it activates it. So it just rolls over after a week or so.
Wow.
It just tapes over the old stuff.
I think everybody should have it.
I got one as it sits in the repair shop for 30 days. But yeah, I got one in my truck. Anyways, another topic.
I told Steven that we'll have to have him come back for number 4 to talk about lemon law.
Yeah, I'm going to be by next time. I'll be an absolute expert on the lemon law here.
That's right.
With my new vehicles. So,
well, if you guys are just tuning in, you are listening to FLA Law on the radio. This is a live legal call-in talk show. I'm Matthew Noyes with the law firm of Perenich, Caulfield, Avril Noyes, one of the first personal injury law firms here in Tampa Bay. We've been helping people out since 1955. That makes us 71 years old. And as a thank you to the community, we have presented and put on FLA Law on the radio for, almost 2 years, maybe even longer than that now, as a community service for you. But I'm not alone. I have Steven Hirschfield here as well, as the creator and operator of ION Tampa Bay and on 911.iontampabay.com. We've given us information regarding hurricane safety, weather and severe weather safety, and so much more. So we do have about 16 minutes left. About that, if I did my math correctly. Give us a call at 727-441-3000 or jump on the Facebook Live page at Perenich, Caulfield, Avril Noyes Injury Lawyers. And you can type your question in there. If by chance you're not able to hear the whole show or you want to hear past shows, each week we post this week's episode up on Spotify and on Amazon Podcasts and all the other podcast platforms that there are. So just type in your favorite podcast platform, type in FLA Law on the radio, and you'll see all the episodes from almost day one, I think. But all the most recent episodes, and you can get all the valuable information right there on the podcast. So we ask you to follow our podcast channel, and so you'll keep getting those updates when new shows are posted. But we were talking about hurricane and severe weather safety. Anything else we want to tell our listeners about that before we jump into a water and drowning prevention?
Let's just move on. I could talk for hours. We only have now 14 minutes probably. Yeah. So let's just move on because it is National Water Safety Month in May.
It's important to know. Yes.
So
and the summer's coming.
Well, Florida's kind of year round anyways, right? Some places they drain their pools. There's no water, and obviously we're in an environment where year round water exposure and we do lead the number in drownings. It is the leading cause of death in children under 5.
Wow.
Drowning. So just, the numbers are crazy. In 2025, 119 kids drowned in Florida.
Wow.
And nearly 80% of those were under the age of 3. So this is obviously a real problem.
Sure. Pinellas
County in 2025 had 25 water submersion incidents, and out of that, 3 were fatal. And this is timely because I don't know if you saw in the news today or yesterday, there was a mom in Bradenton. She was at a pool party, and she left the child with there was an 8 and 10-year-old in the pool, and she left to go find her phone, and she came back, and she was still looking for her phone, and no one knew that her 4-year-old daughter was at the bottom of the pool.
Oh, my goodness.
And one of the things drowning is usually silent. People don't realize that. It's not like, oh my God, I'm drowning, help, help, help. Usually it's silent and no one knows. And the biggest thing is when it's everyone's responsibility, it's no one's responsibility. This is all about accountability, right? You need to have a water watcher. You know, we've had parties before and we've hired someone. So that's their job.
Oh, okay.
And obviously from a liability perspective,
Yes.
that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It didn't help that hours after she admitted to 6 coronas and had a blood alcohol of like 0.148.
Wow.
Obviously. So she got arrested.
Sure.
Right? Lost her 4-year-old child. She said she told 8 and 10-year-old to watch the kids. They were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's just how timely can we get?
That's sad.
Not just children over the age of 65. Obviously, elderly population is a higher risk. And we know that children with autism, 160 times more likely to drown, right? That water-seeking kind of behavior. And so obviously, I know you could probably talk about, there's 4 things, I believe, that have to be around a pool or to
for your resident. I mean, people don't appreciate this, but the homeowner could be held responsible for any drowning or any injury occurs in their pool. And one of the things, and even if it wasn't a planned pool event, I had a case several years ago where an autistic child was walking in the neighborhood. The neighbor's pool was open.
Yep.
And sadly, I think he was 10 years old, went into the pool, and the homeowner wasn't home, and the 10-year-old drowned. And it's a very sad story, but it was preventable too. And in fact, the law says that the residential swimming pools must have 4 things.
One of 4.
It must have all of the following characteristics.
Oh, okay.
It must have a barrier that's at least 4 feet high on the outside.
Yep.
It must have the barrier may not have any gaps, openings, protrusions that could allow a young child to crawl under, squeeze through, climb over the barrier. A gate that's not locked would not satisfy that requirement. The barrier must be placed around the perimeter of the pool. It must be separate from any fence, wall, or other enclosure surrounding the yard, unless the fence, wall, or other enclosure is situated on the perimeter of the pool as being part of the barrier that meets the barrier requirements in number 2. That's written just like a lawyer would write it. So
of course. And that's why you'll see around pools, you see the holes.
Right.
A lot of times they put that screening.
The screening right around there. Yeah. Right.
And people put in their garage and never go back up once it passes the code.
Yeah. Right. And which is perfect, because that fence, the 4th one is that if they do put the fence, it has to be far enough away from the water's edge to prevent a young child or medically frail elderly person, is what the statute says, who may be managed to go through that barrier and prevents them from falling into the water. I've been to a lot of pools, houses that don't have those 4 requirements.
Right. So I thought there was I know, like, when my dad built houses, and one of the houses across the street had a door alarm.
Right.
So there was that met some requirement. You could have a door alarm. There's a safety covers that could be over the pool.
True.
But anyone's building now, to get the okay from the county, is going to have to meet those requirements.
Right.
The question is, what about the ones that built 20 years ago?
That's the problem.
That don't have any of that.
Right.
So obviously from a
and that's why the
liability problem.
Yeah, those door alarms are so important to have. Right. Yes, it's annoying because you hear that sliding glass door open all the time. But if you can save a 4-year-old's life, oh my goodness, listen to the alarm go off.
Yep.
And that's just totally outside of the legal liability aspect of the claim. You know, it's just saving lives and preventing injuries. And that's far more important than being able to bring a claim against anybody.
Yeah. So yeah, you want to have those barriers, obviously, and you don't want to leave toys in the pool either, because the kids are going to, oh, look, there's a ball in the pool. I can reach it, splash into the pool.
Right. But there's also, I mean, it's not just pool area. It's also people go swimming at the beach all the time, and the beaches can be dangerous as well.
They've had drownings in buckets. They've had drownings in bathtubs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not just the pool where these drownings can happen.
What do beachgoers have to do to be careful to prevent and to be alert about to prevent drowning?
You got riptide warnings, which are put out all the time. I think a lot of people here know that if they do get caught in a riptide, or they should know, or there's signs at the beach. I don't know if anyone reads them, but riptides don't necessarily cause a person to drown. It's them fatiguing, swimming, trying to get to shore, and they get fatigued and they succumb to it. If they would just swim parallel to the shore, right, alongside the shore, they could easily get out of that rip current. The rip current is just water coming at them, so you're just not getting anywhere. You're panicking. You're trying to get to shore, and you're not getting anywhere, and eventually you fatigue out.
Right.
You swim parallel to shore because the rip currents are pretty narrow. So that's the key in trying to educate people that are coming in from other countries or other states that aren't familiar with that. But when conditions are kind of right for that, there are warnings that are put out. We put them up on our website as well, along with the diagram of how to get out of rip current. We do everything we can to educate that.
Right. I think that's important because, to have that knowledge before you go into the water, because if that's happening to somebody inside the water, panic's going to set in and they're going to forget something that they saw a month ago. And so I think it's so important.
I'm going to throw one more plug in here while I can.
Please.
If all goes not good, dealing with a drowning or something like that, CPR, right? Take a CPR course. You want to take one? You could take it with me on the 21st at the city of Seminole.
All right.
I teach their CPR course. So a week from Thursday, I'll be teaching a completely free class. Unless you need a card, then it's like $15 that goes to the agency that sponsors it. But that is the third Thursday of each month at Station 29 off 74th Avenue over there by Seminole City Center. You can go to the City of Seminole website. You can register for that CPR class. Again, third Thursday of every month. And we go over infant, child, adult, choking, AED usage.
Yeah.
We cover all of that in
What time
a
is it?
few-hour course. I believe it's at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah.
So I will be teaching the class a week from Thursday. So if you don't take it there, take it somewhere. It's just you got to have that. People say AEDs. I've been to mobile home parks where they have an AED by the pool, and people are like, I don't touch it. I'm going to get electrocuted. It's like you could have it, but no one knows how to use it.
Right.
And it's getting that tool in your toolbox to know how to respond in a high stress situation. It's very important.
I think that's so important. So I have you at the Hurricane Expo on the 20th and the CPR course on the 21st. Is that right?
Sounds good. And then something this weekend, but you don't need to know about that. Fire Ops 101. So that's when all the legislature, the people running for office, all the city and county municipality people, it's put on by the fire union to let them know what they really do. And they get all these people they invite to put on the gear and go in a building where they can't see in front of them, and they're all sweating it. So they get to feel what a firefighter actually does, and and they get to realize that this $400,000 piece of equipment, what it's used for and what it does. So it's kind of them to say, these are the resources that we need, and this is why it's important. So it's a good thing. So
that is good.
That's going on, I think, on Saturday, 6 a.m. But
I was just trying to plan your fourth appearance on FLA Law on the radio.
Oh, whenever. I don't sleep. I'm up all the time. I don't care. Just tell me when, where, and for anything, I'm here. So we got to half our topics today.
We did get to half. We have one. We still have a little more time. So I do want to talk about something that I think is very important. And that is, we're coming into summer. So we talked about swimming and the beach and stuff, but barbecue and cooking also.
Oh my!
Every summer you probably read it more than I do, but every summer you read about some barbecue catastrophe, some accident where there was an explosion or just burning because of carelessness or uninformed barbecuers. What can you tell our listeners? How can we prevent that? Those are preventable. Most of them are preventable.
Let me sum it up real quick. Don't use gasoline.
Don't ever use gasoline.
Not to start a grill, right? You're going to use lighter fluid.
The lighter fluid. That's true.
There's things that are explosive. There's things that are flammable. It's the fumes off the gasoline that'll, ignite. The gas itself, it's the fumes coming off of it. So a lot of people can't start the charcoal. They can't start the bonfire. They start throwing gasoline on it, and those vapors kind of go into the air. And so that's one of the big no-nos. Obviously, placement of the grill is important, and where you want to put it. You also have a carbon monoxide risk. Even when you think the coals are out and they're gray, they could still be 800, 900,000 degrees.
Wow.
Obviously, keeping children away. Children cooking their s'mores, they don't realize it's 800 degrees, right? Alcohol's always playing a factor in that, right? An alcohol-related incident. True. We have a few of those where people want a bonfire, they got a barbecue grill, and people can't walk a straight line, and they fall into the fire. It happens.
Right.
Close, ignite, stop, drop, and roll. All those things, we go into all of that. Obviously, stop, drop, and roll. It should be stop, drop, and roll, and cover your face.
Oh, okay.
That's the big thing that we teach in our first aid class. That's another day. Is to basically cover your face when you roll, so you're preventing the most critical areas. Obviously, it's liability from a legal perspective of condos and apartments. Telling people you can't have a barbecue right on the second or third or fourth floor. Obviously, the fire marshal doesn't like that either. I mean, there's so much we go into.
It's the homeowners too. Homeowners, they can have a claim against the homeowners if the homeowner was negligent in allowing somebody impaired to do the cooking that causes fires or burns because of the carelessness of that. I think it's so important. Kind of like we're talking about the swimming pool. You have someone who's designated to socialize and enjoy the pool, and someone to watch the kids. Should be the same thing. You should have a designated barbecuer who is avoiding the alcohol until all the cooking is done.
Right. And you safely discard. The other thing is people take the charcoal and they throw it in the trash can. Yes. Right. It's got to cool down, and it could go on for 8, 10, 12 hours, depending on how much air is circulating through it. So you got to watch how you discard the charcoal. When we're dealing with propane, make sure the grill's open. If you have trouble starting it, let it vent out. Some people it builds up. They open the gate, they open the top, and they light it, and you get that flash. So,
and I thought I saw a pretty good tip too. Is that before you even do it, you check for gas leaks by putting soapy water on the connections to see if there's any bubbling.
Right. Same with a tire. If you have a tire that's leaking, you take the soap and you put it on there, and you'll see these little bubbles.
Yeah, and if it's bubbling,
don't test it with a match.
Yeah, don't be doing that.
It gives me another article to write. Stop. Just stop already. We try to educate people, and we do the best we can. We try to make a difference.
That's so important. How can our listeners get all the information that you have, Steven, when you're not here on FLA Law on the radio?
Oh, they know how to get a hold of me.
Some of them may not. We're trying to get them all to get a hold of you.
IONTB.com. So you message me through there, or news@IONTB.com, or it's all on the website. It's all on the Facebook.
Yeah,
they know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah,
good and bad.
You give so much information right when you need it. So it's so helpful. I appreciate you taking the time to not only talk about all the good services you do for the news on Tampa Bay, but also the good services you do for emergency management and making sure people are safe. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Listeners, that does wrap up another edition of FLA Law on the Radio. Next week, I'll be back. And as another part of the community service, we'll be having a representative from Dunedin Cares to talk about what they do in the community to help people. So thank you for listening. I am Matthew Noyes. As I always say, drive safely and watch out for those who don't.
WTAM, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour. Your